All right, all right. So, TLDR, today we're going to be talking about Glacier National Park in northern Montana. Unbelievable place. Again, the wildlife is absolutely crazy. Bears everywhere, eagles everywhere, goats, bighorn sheep. We've got mountains the size of the Empire State and bigger. Do you know what I'm saying? And sheer cliff sides, forest on some of it, glacial lakes, like a load of glacial lakes. It's absolutely stunning. We've got things like the Weeping Wall. No geysers, no hot springs in this one. Just stunning mountains. If I could take you back there right now, I would. Or this is going to be my attempt at trying to do that. So yeah, Glacier National Park. Also, yeah, I guess we got some Santa Claus looking motherfucker that I met who's dope. So I'll be telling you a little bit about that. Right. So Glacier National Park. Um, Coming up to Glacier National Park, I came from the east side of Montana, or like central Montana. And central Montana is kind of like the Midwest, right? Like you have these rolling green prairie hills. So it's just mile after mile. And like it's beautiful, but like it's a little bit barren as well. It's just kind of like long grass on these prairie lands. And it's harsh, the wind blows. Yeah, it's pretty brutal of a landscape, to be honest. I'm sure like there's ways to fall in love with it, but like it's harsh. Anyway, then I come up to the eastern entrance of Glacier National Park, and I can already start to feel the mountains. I can see them a little bit. I can like you can see the forest lining some of the rivers popping out, and I'm excited. I know a little bit about Glacier National Park, and I'm really excited. And so I hit the entrance, and I hit this one road called, I think it's like Road into the Sunset, or uh, I'll find out what the actual name is. And it's just this road that climbs and it climbs and it climbs. On either side, you've got these mountains just smashing out of the landscape. And again, the strata is quite horizontal. They've not been like morphed to be crazy. There's sharp, jagged areas, and that makes it dramatic as well. But there's something about the perspective of seeing these mountains is truly spectacular. I'm going to caveat this a little bit with a little side story about something called the CCC, and these are the construction core. So I'm going to caveat this with basically the people that built the infrastructure for the national parks, and this was part of something called the New Deal, which was Franklin D. Roosevelt. Someone probably correct me if that's wrong. Back in around 1930s, 1933. Now, the New Deal was like this economic package to basically try and revitalize America. Post World War One wasn't too relevant to them. There was just I guess there was the economic crash sometime in like the early 20s or just before the early 20s. And the New Deal was basically about creating jobs for Americans and revitalizing the economy. And part of that was the CCC, the Civilian Conservation Corps. And this was, I think, you between 18 and 25. And the idea was to just make thousands of jobs for people to construct the infrastructure within national parks. Now, that's trails, that's roads, that's the facilities. And bear in mind, like national parks are in some of the most obscure, isolated, uh, just what am I trying to obscure, isolated, and rugged environments you can think about. So leveling out areas to then pave them for roads or creating trails that go safely around glaciers, sheer rock faces, all the kind of stuff, like this is no easy feat. And I mean, this is definitely a big up to like access in America. Like if you've got a car, you can pretty much go anywhere. And there's this one road in Glacier National Park, going to the Sun Road, and it starts on the eastern entrance and it just goes up and up and up, and it's unbelievable. When you think sometimes you see a sheer rock face on this side, you see a sheer drop on that side, you cross like a little bridge in the middle of nowhere that's like made out of like the feat of engineering and like labor that went into this is really quite spectacular. And this is owed to the CCC, the Civilian Conservation Corps, partly because of the New Deal, or not fully about the New Deal. Just like a really interesting kind of tidbit there, that a lot of the national parks were built at this time by these people. Anyway, so going to the Sun Road, I'm doing this, having a great time. Also, a bit of context: I've like torn my ACL, and I had ACL reconstructive surgery 3 months prior. So I'm not doing much walking. I'm just kind of like it's about the adventure, about driving, seeing the places, plotting up, taking it in. Anyway, so there's one place that you're supposed to go to at sunrise, and it overlooks, I think, something called like Goose Island, and it's this one tiny little island as you look over this glacial lake, and it's supposed to be spectacular. It's supposed to turn up there at 5 a.m. So I spend the day driving around Glacier National Park. I'm seeing brown bears. I saw a brown bear fight with a black bear. I saw the Weeping Wall, which is just this cliffside where water is just emanating out of it in kind of like tears, as if like the mountain is crying. I see the sun coming down over one mountain, create this blanket of yellow light. I see, again, the birds you see out there are unreal. Mountain goats, bighorn sheep, gophers, obviously. And yeah, have this amazing day. Anyway, so it's getting to like nighttime. I got to be at this spot. It's like a well-known spot that you'd go at sunrise. And so I'm like, am I going to be a bit cheeky and just like late night pop into this car park, sleep for like 4 hours in the back of my truck, and just be up and do it? Because you're not really, you're not supposed to do that. Full disclaimer, not supposed to do that. So I'm like, fuck it, yeah, let me do it. So I kind of hang around, get me some food just outside the park, come back into the park to this car park. Anyway, I plot up and I'm like, I'm gonna try and stay a little bit awake just in case a park ranger comes. Anyway, I like get into my sleeping bag, I put the seats down, I'm like camped in, like I've got my pajamas on. Anyway, I just get woken up to like big flat headlights coming in. I'm like, oh fuck, I hope that's like just like another civilian or whatever. And then just like a knock on my window, and I'm like, oh my god. I'm like, I'm scared, like it's a little bit freaky. And like when you're operating in national parks, you're under federal law. So these guys, they're like, "Raw, what are you doing?" Anyway, so I get a knock on the window. I wind the window, and this woman's just like, she's full uniform. She's obviously a park ranger. She's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm just waiting for the sunrise. She's like, dude, it's like 2 a.m. like, or maybe 1 a.m. There's no sunrise for like 4 hours. Like, you're not supposed to be sleeping. I was like, oh, I'm not sleeping. She like looks in. She's like, bro, you are in your sleeping bag, in your pajamas, with your eyes closed. Like, what do you want me to take from that? I was like, I was resting my eyes because I was a little bit tired. And she was like, all right, whatever. My partner out here, they were doing some good cop, bad cop thing in it. My partner, he's about to come, like, he's not going to take this shit. So, like, I need you to quickly get out your sleeping bag, at least in the car, just tell us you're going to move. Oh, yeah, okay, cool. This dude comes over kind of like, oh, what's going on here? Like, are you sleeping here? This is a federal crime. Like, we could punish you. And I was like, obviously I wanted to give attitude, but I didn't. The woman, like, she gave me a pass. So I'm like, no, I'm so sorry. I was just getting out of here. Like, I was waiting for sunrise, but like, obviously I'm falling asleep. So let me just get out of the park. I'll do that. So that's the excitement over for the night. I drive maybe 20 minutes, find myself just a place out of the park. Not very nice. I like pull over on the side of the road pretty much. Just about sleep for another couple hours. Then I zoom back in. Goose Island, sunrise. Get to this spot. There's maybe like 10 people there, not too many. And it's spectacular. The light is orange/red. It's lighting up this one little island, Goose Island, and it's just gorgeous. I'm taking it all in. Obviously, I'm solo in it. I'm flying solo. I'm just out there, and people start. The sun's come up now. The spectacle is over, if you will. And there's been this one guy, like this Santa Claus looking motherfucker. Like, he's got big old grey beard, grey hair, big old Carhartt jacket, big boy. Must be about 60, at least 60, maybe 70. He looks hard, you know, like he's got his camping chair set up with his big thing. We chat and I hear him chatting. He's like a bit too positive and energetic for my liking at that time. I'm clearly a energetic and positive guy. I was suspicious. I was like, yeah, whatever, man. It's American, whatever. And anyway, everyone drops off. It's kind of just me and him on these rocks overlooking this thing. And he's like, oh, hey, what you like? How are you doing? I'm like, oh yeah, hi. He's like, oh, you're British, okay? Like, tell me a bit more. So we started getting chatting, and he's actually a really nice guy. Obviously, kind of grandpa vibes in it. And anyway, we start. He's also leaving. I'm leaving, and as we kind of get back to the car park, he's like, "Hey, do you fancy breakfast?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, do you know a spot around here?" He's like, "Do I know a spot around here? I've got breakfast." And I was like, "All right, cool. Like, what, you're gonna cook up?" He's like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." So we pull up in the car park to one of the picnic areas, and out of the back of his truck, he pulls like a little gas stove, his gas canister. He pulls out like a wad of bacon, some eggs. I mean, the dude is set up. Like, he knows. He's one of these people who just knows how to camp. And so he sets up, we're chatting, he's got coffee on the go. Like, this is my kind of guy, do you know what I'm saying? Like, anyway, it turns out he's hardy, you know, like so here it is. Here's the crux. His name's something like David. And David is a Mormon from Utah. And his missus, his wife, does not like camping, so he takes these opportunities to go on his own. He's got a son that kind of likes it, but he's got a grandson now that he loves taking on these trips. Anyway, this is one of them ones. He's out on his own, loves taking photos. He's doing his thing. I was like, all right, cool, cool. I'm very interested by the Mormon stuff. I'm super interested in Mormons. And also just like Utah as a state. Utah is like the Mormon state of America. It's where like the Mormons originated. Their words. I can get into that into another one. Actually, I've got another one. Um, anyway, Utah's super interesting. Very conservative, very religious, and very independent, like fiercely independent. So we're chatting. We kind of breakfast is almost ready, and we kind of get onto the. We've basically been alluding to our own politics this whole conversation, and not like overtly kind of just being like, this is what I stand for, but just like we're talking about stuff, and it's clear where our views lie. And it's clear that he's hella conservative, and it's clear that I'm pretty fucking liberal. I mean, I got my hair down, I got my beard out, like I'm a hippie as they come. So we just had this really interesting moment where I think I addressed it, but he was there to meet it. I was basically just clearly that we have difference in politics, and I'm quite enjoying our experience right now. I really don't, I don't want you to feel uncomfortable. Like, he's like, are you good? Because I'm good, innit? Like, I just enjoy talking to people, let alone from the other political spectrum. It's just nice to have these conversations, hear people for who they are, not just about what they like think or believe in, you know? And I was like, yeah, man, like, I'm all about that. I'm all about like understanding different perspectives and hearing people for who they are, innit? You're not coming at me, I'm not coming at you. Let's just chill. And whilst that might seem maybe obvious to a lot of people, in my experience, people let politics get in the way too easily. Anyway, so we're chilling. It comes quite quickly apparent that he is a doomsday prepper. Now, for all of you that don't know, doomsday prepper is somebody that basically has a bunker in the bottom of their yard, and they are getting ready, they're preparing for a end of day apocalypse type situation. Some of these people are rooted in kind of religious apocalypse, like the second coming or whatever. Some of them are rooted in a more like reality driven situation of economic or environmental apocalypse or collapse. Anyway, so I'm also extremely interested in doomsday preppers. Like, I've never really met a proper one. And so I've got this Mormon, Utah, Santa Claus looking dude who is just like, he's super open about it. So we get chatting. I'm like, tell me more about this bunker. Like, I need to know. So we're chatting. He's like, yeah, I got 4 months of like food I've prepared. I've got 4 months worth of food that I've prepared. And then I've got like canned good stuff that would last maybe a year. He got some weapons. He's obviously got electricity. He's got solar panels wired up maybe 100 meters away. Like, he's ready. So I'm like, oh, wait, you said something about like a year's worth of food, but 4 months worth of like prepared food? He's like, yeah. So like I brine meats. I make meats ready for like a 4 month expiry date. I was like, I'm so interested. Like, what do you mean by that? And so he's like, basically, for example, he's got, with chicken, he will put a chicken breast in a mason jar that's got salted water, so brined water. That's filled to the top. You screw the raw chicken breast shut, and then you bain marie the mason jar. And bain marie is when you basically boil uh, a contained material. So you're boiling the jar that then boils the chicken. And the idea is that when you do that, you create a vacuum in the mason jar and you've got this sealed product. He's like, yeah, that lasts 4 months. And I was like, oh, cool. I mean, that's pretty dope. Sounds pretty gnarly, but like, all right. I was like, well, what do you do after 4 months when it goes off? Like, you just throw it out? He's like, do I throw it out? Like, obviously, I'm reusing stuff. Like, this is perfectly fine. It's just it would go off. So I'm what is it? I'm resupplying. I'm restocking. So I'm like, what? You eat it? He's like, yeah, I eat it. I'm like, whoa, backtrack here. Like, you eating 4-month-old chicken? He's like, yeah, for sure, I'm doing that. And I was like, I claim BS right now. Like, I don't think you're doing that. And he's like, I mean, I've got a jar from the recent cycle that I've done, like in the back of the truck. I was like, get that out now. Like, I need to see this. I can't believe this. So he pulls out this mason jar, pops it. You can hear the vacuum release. I'm like, no way. It's got a label on it saying the dates. You know, like I guess the start and end date of what his recycle was. I'm like, you're telling me I can eat this? He's like, dude, try it right now. He pops a little bit in his mouth. I'm like, oh, that's gnarly, dude. Obviously, I tried it. Yeah, it was blessed. Just like salty chicken. So yeah, much respect for that kind of stuff. Anyway, another interesting thing was, so we're having this breakfast. It was dope. We like chatting for like 3 hours. We moved on after a little bit of politics, in it, because we were talking about the doomsday stuff. And I mean, he is a little out there. You know, he's talking about Hillary basically kind of in the pedophile ring and like just doing like just a bit far-reaching, like kind of QAnon stuff. Not really, but almost. And I'm like, oh, come on, David, man, like not that stuff. And he's like, oh, maybe. Anyway, then he's like, yeah, Hillary's just trying to take my stuff. And then we start talking about like, I think it's more the intricacies of what this kind of stuff. He's very anti-welfare system. But what's really interesting, and he made that quite clear. What's really interesting is that as with the conversation goes, we spend these 3 hours, 4 hours together. He's like, you know what, Morgan? If everything falls apart, I want you to know that if you come find me in that time, I will let you into my bunker. Like I will gladly welcome you, and you're a good person. I can tell you're a good person, and you would be valuable as someone in that kind of situation. And I was obviously touched. I mean, I'm like, yeah, I don't even know you, but like, I know you stand by these principles of your intuition and stuff. So like, all right, cool. I appreciate that. But hear me this. 4 hours. We've just met each other. And now you're inviting me into probably one of your most vulnerable spots in the world, right? Like this is like an apocalypse style bunker. And I'm just going to rock up outside being like, hey man, like, can you let me in, dude? He's going to be like, yeah. And I was like, look, if you think about that, that's a little bit like a welfare system, right? Like you are giving a handout to me he started smiling on this one. And I was like, you see what I'm saying? Like, that's kind of, he's like, yeah. I get your point. But at the same time, it's me making the decision. I'm understanding that, like, this is something that I want to do. I haven't got the government doing it for just every other person out there. And I was like, all right, cool. I think we can maybe meet there because I'm not going to try and convince you of anything else. But just really, I mean, as an experience goes, like, it's just so good to meet this guy, hear like these stories so alien to me, really. Obviously, I see them about, but this was someone who was, you know, Mormon, Utah resident, doomsday prepper. Like, the dude was having it. Anyway, so we part ways in the breakfast. We exchanged like emails or something. And yeah, I talked to him once since then. I gave him a load of tips for coming to London. He said, if you're ever in Utah, holler at me. Yeah. And that was, yeah, then I did 4 more hours driving through Glacier National Park. Just a really, really amazing time.